And I want to check, thank you. I just wanted to check, I've got our agenda for 90 minutes instead of 2 hours for this evening, but I wanted to make sure that's what everybody else had on their schedules. I see a couple nodding heads, so that's great. So, my name's Martha Loachman, Boulder County Commissioner. We're here for our Consortium of Cities meeting, and today is June 18th. So, just want to appreciate everybody for being flexible on the change of dates. I want to acknowledge that the reason that we had a change of our meeting time for Consortium City is due to the anti-Semitic attack that happened in the city of Boulder at the Boulder County Courthouse on June 1st. And so I just want to appreciate a couple different folks in regards to all of the staff who shifted and has been very helpful in regards to not just response, being at the EOC, following up with phone calls and other community concerns, all of the elected officials for being in communication and everybody else who's joining us this evening. And I know that we had some people that couldn't make it tonight because of the change, and we appreciate everybody's um, just continuous communication in regards to how we continue to also respond to the questions of Consortium of City and our scheduling and our presenters for making a new time too. So thank you for that. The meeting is being recorded, so the folks who weren't able to make it, we'll send that out at the within about a week with all of the different notes and documents that folks share with us this evening. So really quick, and this will be a little tricky, but we will do just introductions, and then we're going to go into, we've got our annual transportation plan that we get to see, just an update. And I want to make sure that there's some dialogue if folks have questions, concerns. Our presenters are ready to talk about what that plan is. So if we have any newer elected officials that haven't got to see this annual transportation plan, we'll have an idea of what it is, the input, and what kind of information they're requesting back from everybody this evening in regards to feedback. And then we also have our presentations that we typically do at the Consortium of Cities. And so before that, I'll go over the topic and then and we'll just have some dialogue, really just to talk about federal funding conversations, questions folks that are having, and collaborations people are working on. Again, what we can do here at the Consortium of City in regards to the way that we continue to collaborate on really important work that include historically the Regional Housing Partnership, some of the gun violence prevention advocacy, regional wide information in the beginning of I should say not beginning, but return to the topic of living wage that had started in 2019. It got stopped during COVID, and some of you have been in that conversation starting back again in 2021. So again, some of the big topics, thinking about how we do regional work, and I believe everybody on the call is going to be in agreement that that kind of collaborative work is just as important as it was before, but certainly our opportunity as local governments may be bigger right now than some of our other governmental partners. So with that being said, thank you all for participating. I'm going to do my best. So if I miss somebody, please don't be offended. Just you'll have an opportunity to speak up, and I'll try and catch people that join us during the meeting in case we miss somebody who doesn't get an opportunity to introduce themselves. So what I'm going to do is go down the list that I'm seeing on participants. And so we'll have Mayor Moore and introductions. If you can just say your name and your title. And if in your title it doesn't tell us where you're at regionally, please add that in there because it's helpful for some, especially staff, to get connected with newer staff and electeds to staff teams, et cetera. So Mayor Moore and then Carla Hunter. And if I say council member versus trustee or whatever the title is, just let me know. Councilmember Priscilla Miji, and then looks like Charlotte Husky, and then Dale Case. So we'll start there.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, Marta. I'm Andrew Moore, mayor of the town of Erie. I like to say I'm a boomerang mayor. I've been out of office 15 years, but back in it as of January.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm Carla Hunter, and I'm observing on behalf of NIWAT.
Thanks for being here, Carla.
This is Anil Pesurmelli, council member from town of Erie.
Great to see you. Thank you.
To me, it's Dale Case. I'm Boulder County Community Planning and Permitting Director, and sorry I can't get my camera working.
Thank you for joining us. So then we'll go to Charlotte Husky, Councilmember Folkerts, Danny Herman, and then Councilmember Fahey.
Good evening, everyone. Charlotte Husky, Budget Officer for the City of Boulder. Good to be here with you this evening.
Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Folkerts from the City of Boulder. Thank you.
Thank you for joining.
I'm Danny Herman. I'm staff with Boulder County Transportation Planning.
Great, thank you.
I'm Deborah Fahey, City Council in Louisville.
Good to see you, thank you. And then it looks like we're going to Mayor Rogan, and then Kelly Ledbetter, Christine Obendorf.
Evening, everybody. Holly Rogan, Mayor of Lyons.
Thanks for joining.
Hey, good evening. Kelly Ledbetter with the Community Planning and Permitting Department in Boulder County. I work as the grants coordinator.
Thank you.
Good evening, Christine Obendorf. I'm the Deputy Director of Engineering within the Public Works Department at Boulder County.
Thanks for joining us. And then let's see here. I'm having I don't know what the right word is, a mouse issue right now. So let's see. We'll go to Megan, and then Melissa Johnson, and then Councilmember Delgadillo, and then Paul Kwiatkowski.
Hi, everybody. Megan, I go by Megs. She, her, I work for the City of Boulder in a council support role.
Thanks for joining.
I think there was someone before me, but I can just jump in if. Okay,
Thank you.
of course. Hi, I'm Paloma Delgadillo. I'm on Broomfield City Council.
Thanks for joining. I think we had Melissa Johnson and then Paul.
See. My name is Melissa Johnson. I'm actually a writer for the Left Hand Valley Courier in Niwot.
Thanks for joining us.
Hi, I'm Paul Kwiatkowski, Transit Program Manager with Boulder County.
Thanks for joining us, Paul.
Thank you.
All right, and then it looks like we've got Sama, and then Councilmember McCoy, Stacy Proctor, and then Summer, if you want to introduce yourself, and then Gustavo.
Hello, I'm Sama Fox, staff for City of Louisville.
Thanks for joining.
Is that me now?
Councilmember McCoy, are you able to? Yeah, let's go Stacy and then Gustavo.
Yeah, hi, I'm Stacey Proctor, and I am on part of the Transportation Planning Team and Community Planning and Permitting.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gustavo. I am the Administrative Division Manager for the Commissioner's Office.
Thank you for your tech support tonight too, and getting the Zoom ready in Nick's absence this evening. Steve Durian, you just joined. If you'd like to do a quick introduction, and then I'm going to be looking for anybody that didn't get an opportunity.
Yes, hi, I'm Steve Durian. I'm Boulder County Public Works Director.
Thank you for joining us.
And Commissioner, this is Summer Laws. I'm a policy advisor in the Boulder County Commissioner's Office.
Thank you. Did I miss anybody? All right. Okay, thank you. Thanks for taking some time. And I would encourage folks, this is a chat-friendly opportunity. So if there's somebody you hear speaking, you can't ask your questions at the right time, but you do want to connect with them, please do use this forum. we've been very successful in having folks connect afterwards and between different meetings and getting some great ideas and work done together. So please do take that opportunity. And I'm just going to pass it over to Boulder County staff then for the annual transportation presentation, and I'll let you all kind of guide who the speakers are going to be, et cetera. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Loachman. As mentioned before, I'm Christine Obendorf from the Deputy Director of Public Works, or Deputy Director within Public Works for Engineering at Boulder County. Stacy and I are here to give an update on the transportation sales tax, but I want to first give a huge shout out and thank you to Kelly Ledbetter for keeping Stacy and I on task to get all of the documents for this presentation to you, as well as the memo and this presentation itself. In addition to Dale Case and Steve Durian for guiding us in questions we had throughout this. So with that, we can move forward and quick overview on the agenda, the overview of the sales tax and the history, the what and the why. And both Stacy and I will go through project highlights that we have accomplished and that are coming within the next year, meaning from, it's interesting because Stacy and I are in the year of January to December, but here we are in July, so it kind of gets us in the middle of the cycle here. But anyways, we'll go through those, and then if there's any questions or discussion, we'll be happy to help answer those. Want to move forward? So here at Boulder County, for those of you that don't know, we have had a wonderful 0.1% countywide sales tax since 2001. And in 2022, we were, our constituents were gracious enough to extend that into perpetuity. And through that, we're able to focus in on several different categories. And if you want to go to the next slide, I can highlight those there. So we have, our transit service programs, our regional trails and commuter bikeways, the regional corridors, kind of the NAMS corridors, the community mobility programs, the roadway safety and resiliency. So this slide and the pictures here kind of highlight what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that our residents, our commuters, our visitors, our, people just coming to hang out in Boulder County are able to get around the way they want to get around or need to get around through all parts of the county. And so whether that's by the Lions Flyer or biking on our shoulders to get from Longmont to Boulder, or taking the Longmont to Boulder Trail, and some of the new exciting bikeways that are underway in planning. That's what this is all about, and to help our communities with those funds as well. So we can move forward with that. As part of the sales tax ballot initiative, we included a very long list of projects or groups of projects for the next 15 years. And about 55% of that goes towards what we're calling safety and resiliency. Those are more of your typical kind of like roadway intersection type of things, or sidewalk improvements, intersection improvements, bridges, structures, so forth. And then we have 5% that goes towards mobility programs. Local transit support is 15%, so things like Lions Flyer or the ski shuttles, regional trails and bikeways, and our regional corridors at 10%. The next slide. So we have a couple of maps here. I'm not going to go into them in a whole lot of detail, but I encourage you to delve into them and later. But this first one just shows all of the things that we put on that ballot initiative in 2022. It's the bridge replacements, it's the pedestrian underpasses, the different improvements along an entire corridor. So that's everything that we hope to accomplish in the next 15 years. We can go to the next slide, which shows a map of things that we're working on right now, or that are in operation or have been in operation, are complete, or into construction. So you can see, color 119, the bikeway there. It's all in both a green and a teal color because it's a NAMS corridor and it's in construction. So this is a highlight of all of the locations. As you can see, we're getting to all locations in Boulder County. Go to the next slide. And then just to summarize the numbers, the big thing here is, we're planning on adding 52 miles of regional trails and bikeways to our already large system. And we intend to replace or add 10 structures, whether they be bridge replacements or pedestrian underpasses. And this is just, to sum up, there are a lot of studies and programs and matching funds that kind of like the tidbits of, they might not cost a lot of money to do compared to all of these huge facility infrastructure programs, but they're necessary for us to move forward and keep things going, especially at programs and trying to find the funds and grants to supplement our monies with others. Move forward. So my group within Engineering Division and Public Works, we highlight and really kind of focus on those roadway safety and resilience programs. And I'm just there is some overlap for what we have done and what is coming in the next year. Just kind of highlight a couple things here. We've been proud to support Lafayette South Boulder Road improvements, and we'll continue to do so until those are complete. We just completed the shoulders and the resiliency of Boulder Creek for 95th Street. I'm sure many people are happy that that's opened up. And we were able to leverage dollars from Mile High Flood District on that one. And we just started construction at the 95th Street and Lookout intersection to help improve safety through that. And that's another one where we were able to leverage CDOT or federal funds to get that intersection in. We are continuing to design the Flagstaff safety drainage improvements, and a big project going on that came out of the master plan in 2020 and 2021 for East County Line Road is the East County Line Road from Quicksilver to Pike, which also includes constructing a roundabout, which so we're doing the design of that. And we literally just started design on the Eldora Ski Road improvements. For those of you that have been up there, it needs a lot of work. There's a lot of drainage, a lot of roads or rock slough off. And we're also looking at getting South Boulder Road multimodal improvements and reconstruction kicked off design. Go to the next slide. Great. And then this coming year, something Superior, we're going to be supporting them with a little bit, supporting Superior with their McCaslin and Marshall intersection project. And we are intending to complete construction this summer of the Sugarloaf Road culvert replacement at Bulmer's Gulch. This is a preamble to kind of getting things in place for when we start to get the bigger improvements done on Sugarloaf Road. We're also going to be constructing the bikeable shoulders on 120th Street from Lafayette to Dillon Road. That has been actually ready to go for a while, but we've been we're trying to make sure that our traveling public and our constituents don't get too angry with all of us when we have all of our construction going on everywhere. So we're trying to ease the pain and delayed 120th Street with everything else going on there. And then we hope to get 61st and Velma intersection going here as well. So those are some of the big things coming up. And then we have a lot of things that we're continuing to design with. As you can see there, some of the other things is we're going to start looking into getting Sugarloaf reconstructed and replacing the box culvert at 95th Street and Ish Ditch. And with that, I'll over to Stacy for all of the wonderful programs that community planning and permitting are doing.
Great, thanks, Christine. Yeah, so I'll go over kind of similar what we did last year, what we're working on now, and what we're anticipating for 2026 for the other 4 kind of buckets of projects that Christine went over at the beginning. So first up is regional corridors. Last year we started construction on the 119 Safety, Mobility, and Bikeway project between Boulder and Longmont. We anticipate that construction will continue through next year, and then the Hover portion of that project will continue into 2027. And then we're working with CDOT on the Highway 7 priority intersections and the 287 Highway 7 superstation. And then CDOT was awarded $11.5 million for median barriers for 287. And so we'll be working, we've been working with them on that, and we'll be continuing to work with them through the design phase of that. And then we partnered with DRCOG to do a corridor study for South Boulder Road Phase 1. And then we're continuing to work with Louisville Lafayette on Future 42 corridor planning. And then finally working with CDOT on Highway 7 Segment B and the intersection at 95th. Next slide. So we're continuing to do a lot of this year and next year, a lot of similar work on those regional corridors. A couple of big things that are coming up for this year and next year is that we are going to lead the phase 2 of the South Boulder Road corridor planning process. And so that'll kind of help us develop alternatives and how we can advance that into design. That's TIP funded, and the local match is coming from the sales tax. And then we'll continue to work with CDOT on the design of the US 287 median barriers this year, and then construction is anticipated next year. And then we'll continue to work with CDOT on the design of the project elements on Highway 7. For regional trails and bikeways, last year we started construction of an underpass under the BNSF Railroad. This is a photo of that on the left hand side there. And that underpass connects Formula Canyon Creek Trail and the Cottonwood Trail. It's been a long time coming, and that underpass opened in April of this year. And then last year we also completed planning studies for the Boulder to Erie Regional Trail and the US 36 North Foothills Bikeway Feasibility Study, and those were both adopted by the board last year. And then Lions began construction of their portion of the St. Vrain Greenway Trail, and transportation sales tax dollars are going to fund a portion of the local match for that project. Coming up for regional trails and bikeways, we have a partnership with the City of Boulder to build a pedestrian bridge at the Chapman Drive trailhead, so that's in construction now. Lions is expecting to complete construction of their portion of the St. Vrain Greenway Trail, and Parks and Open Space has started planning for the St. Vrain Greenway Trail in the unincorporated part of Boulder County. And then, so we're working with Parks and Open Space on that. We're beginning design of the Boulder to Erie Regional Trail. There's an RFQ out right now for that. And then also beginning design of the US 36 North Foothills Safety for All project. So we're kind of expanding that scope and working with Parks and Open Space to include a wildlife crossing along that corridor, and we're starting the design of that, just getting kicked off. And then next year we're anticipating the Lafayette-Louisville Boulder Bikeway Feasibility Study, and then Superior has requested funding for a hawk crossing of McCaslin near Tract H in Superior. And then for our transit services and programs, a lot of these are kind of ongoing services. So we're continuing and plan to in the future continue service on the Lions Flyer, Ride for Lafayette, the Gold Hill Climb, Mountain Rides, and Flex Express. And then we have some upcoming exciting projects and services. We are just now kicking off our countywide strategic transit plan. We are hoping to start our starter service that we received TIP funding for next year for the Highway 7 starter service. We're launching the Gun Barrel On Demand Transit and the Southeast Superflex service this year. And then for our transportation mobility programs, again, these are kind of a lot of ongoing programs that we're implementing. So we've several years ago completed the Coordinated Human Services Plan, and so we're continuing to implement the priority action items from that. Continuing to convene the Mobility and Access Coalition, and then working to expand youth and family outreach and engagement activities. We've been working for several years to get an RTD Access-A-Ride Certification Center in Boulder County, so people don't need to travel so far to get that certification. And then continue to support the mountain area mobility programs. And then we have a couple of kind of high-level planning activities. Our Vision Zero Action Plan, our safety plan that we're working on with Superior and Lafayette. That's anticipated to be completed in the next couple of months. And then we are also in the next few months completing a report on progress on our TMP to kind of evaluate our accomplishments and see if we're heading in the right direction on our performance metrics since that was adopted 5 years ago. And so last but not least, before we get to discussion, we just wanted to share a little bit about the grant success that we've had. One of the great things about the transportation sales tax is it provides us with a really great source of local matching funds. And so in the last few years, you can see we've taken about $11 million in sales tax funds and translated that into almost $95 million for Boulder County transportation projects. So we've been very successful on that, and we're excited to keep that momentum going and continue to use those sales tax funds to leverage other dollars. And part of why it's so great to have Kelly on board to help us continue to get those grants and manage those grants to leverage the dollars. And with that, we can answer any questions, any discussion, ideas, thoughts. I did put in the memo that if there are requests from items that are on the sales tax list that that communities are interested in funding next year or the next few years, it would be good for us to know that now when you think you might be ready for that sales tax money that's been identified so that we can be planning for it. So definitely reach out to us if there's things that you think might be coming up soon that are on the 15-year list. But happy to answer any other questions as well.
Thank you both for the presentation, and Boulder County staff in that department specifically. We appreciate you being here, being ready to answer questions and just have dialogue. And I would ask maybe, Stacy, if you could put in the chat your contact information, just in case somebody does have some follow-up on what you shared.
Sure.
And so are there questions if folks have any ideas, thoughts, etc.? All right, I didn't see who went first, so how about we go Councilmember Fahey and then Mayor Rogan, just the way it's showing up on my screen.
Thank you, Marta. Yes, I just had a quick comment. I'm really interested in having the city partner with the county and DRCOG and everyone involved with the 95th Street corridor, particularly getting it extended for pedestrians and bikers all the way from Louisville up and all the way from 36 in Louisville, because that's where our new hospital will be going in, but all the way up to Longmont, so that we can have an easy passage for anyone who wants to go from Longmont through Erie, Lafayette, and Louisville. But I want to thank you guys for everything you've done. It's already amazing. That new bike path and things going from Boulder to Longmont is unbelievable up the diagonal. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and we can definitely talk more about our goals for going north south from that area. yeah, it's not, I don't think we currently have it on the 15-year list, but definitely, something we can talk more about.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Mayor Rogan?
Yeah, thank you. Stacy and Tim, thank you so much for this presentation. It's really so great to see all the wonderful things that the sales tax is doing and how you've been able to leverage it into so much more. So it's just incredible work, and kudos to you and your team and the staff. Um, so I want to let everybody know that the St. Vrain Greenway Trail Extension was supposed to open July 4th, but ran into a little bit of a snag acquiring materials because of supply chain issues and whatnot. So it'll be a little bit delayed, but it will open this summer. Everybody's invited to the ribbon cutting. It's going to be great. So thank you for that. And then I do have a question, and it relates to our next topic as well. I know I'm not the only person who received a letter from the Federal Highway Administration telling us that if we don't cooperate with ICE and end all of our DEI programs, we get no money for roads. So I'm wondering how or whether that factors into your priorities in terms of what you're putting at the, nearer to the top or of the list, or just whether there's an approach to that.
At this point, none of our funding has been threatened, or knocking on wood. We haven't had any issues at this point, and so really the guidance we got the same letter, and our guidance from the county attorney's office was keep doing what you're doing, and let us know if we have to sign a new grant agreement. We would look at that closely and whatnot. But at least at this point, that's kind of where we're at with this. So I don't know if Commissioner Lushman has any other ideas, or if what we've at a higher level in the county, but at least for us, that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, I'll keep it with that question on the transportation for now, just because we'll have some further discussion on federal changes. And of course, Dale Case, I see you on there. So if there is something you wanted to add as the director CPMP, we're happy to hear it as well.
And I'd also like to add, so fortunately, none of our grants we currently just have one for FHWA for the intersection, but we're trying to find grants and to help support. Right now, we're looking at grants for Eldora Road, and one of the grants that we were planning on going for is no longer a program. They're no longer accepting that. So we just continue to dig to try to figure out where we might be able to fit that in, try to roll as much as we can when it comes to future things going forward, and trying to be robust in how we're identifying what our needs are and for that.
Thank you. Any additional questions or thoughts for the team on this annual update on the transportation plan? All right. I just want to say thanks again to staff. All of us as elected sign up for 24/7. You hear me say this at every meeting. But our staff doesn't, and yet they're here in the evening trying to make sure that we as electeds have the information. I'm a visual person, so I love the maps, and I think that's very helpful especially for taxpayers, just to understand like it actually is happening all over the county, and to have some ideas about where the plans are, and also to know that as elected officials, we also have an opportunity to share community concerns or ideas, et cetera. So thank you so much for the presentation, and we will plan to see you all again, most likely next June. And so we appreciate it. And you're all welcome to stay, and you're also welcome to take your evening back to your own lives and take care. So thank you.
Yes, and thank you for inviting.
So consortium members, our next topic, and because we cut our meeting from generally 2 hour to 90 minute with our change of schedule, I'm not going to offer a break, but take care of whatever you need to take care of. Usually we try and take a 5 minute break in the middle, but I don't want us to get behind and then end up going over time. So what we're going to do is move into our consortium presentations. And if you remember back in December, all the members who were at that meeting go together and brainstorm ideas, topics that might be helpful, might be interesting, might create some regional opportunities for work. And so I added it to the chat just as far as the agenda. And the prompts on there were talking about federal funding. And so and I'll have to ask Gustavo if you've got any, I don't know how many presentations were sent ahead of time, or if you're just folks don't have to have a formal presentation if you're here and want to just give an update in regards to what your jurisdiction is doing, you're welcome to. We're going to focus on a couple pieces. One, risks and strategies related to federal changes with grants or programming. And then the other one was any impacts that you would like to bring to regional attention. And then it was kind of a curiosity that people had asked around funding as well. So we tried to fit it in the same topic for any town or jurisdiction working on sales use or property tax measure that you want to talk about for 2025, just for awareness for the good of the region and other elected officials. So those are what the presentation is going to consist of this evening. So let's I'm going to ask Gustavo if you had presentations that were sent ahead of time. Maybe that'll help me at least get us going in an order.
I have not received any presentations, so I believe as long as they're able to share, it should work.
That's great. And if folks did send any materials in the last couple of days here to Nick because he's out of town this week, that would you would have gotten a reply back that he's out. So let's do alphabetical order. How's that? Can we all manage that virtually? So I want to say that would be Broomfield.
Sounds good to me.
Folder on here too.
All
Okay.
right.
Now I'm looking at the wrong screen. Okay.
All right, cool. Mine's brief. I don't have a presentation, but I do have some text, some information to share with you all. So some of the questions were surrounding risks and strategies related to federal changes with grants and programming. On our part, we're staying with the status quo when it comes to operations, and we continue to monitor federal changes. While there have been hints of potential changes related to federal grants and programs, these are often subject to change. At this time, no concrete changes have been announced, and CCOB federal grants and programming have not been impacted. We work in partnership with our congressional delegation, colleagues in governmental affairs, and professional membership organizations to monitor and advocate to preserve existing federal funding. So that's the first question. Second one, any impacts that you'd like to bring to regional attention? Not yet, but we're keeping an eye out. We're definitely a little bit nervous about all the stuff that's going on, or at least I definitely am. The third question was when it comes to a sales and use tax or property tax. So we're not anticipating putting anything on the 2025 ballot. That said, I do want to add a note that on May 27th, there were Housing Forum survey results presented. So we did send out a survey with our Housing Forum partners to look to see if the community was in a place where they'd be willing to support any sort of tax to help with the kind of abysmal housing situation we have going on. Unfortunately, there was not community appetite for that at this time, so we are not moving forward with this, but it is something to point out that we did explore that, and at least in the Broomfield area, that wasn't something that we could come back with. And then finally, when it comes to community events or updates, our summer concert series kicked off on June 11th, so there's a lot of fun stuff going on. We'll have 6 concerts this summer with some cool artists and a really good lineup, so check us out. It's not just for folks in Broomfield. And then some other things. So this one was really important for us because we did recently raise our water rates. And unfortunately, we did have to raise them by quite a bit. So in response to that, we do have a commission now. The acronym is FLOW, which our staff felt very clever about, and I don't blame them. That's a great acronym. It's the Fiscal Leadership on Water Advisory Committee. So that's what it is. And it just gives the community an opportunity to kind of provide their input, understand where we're coming from, what the needs are, what our current infrastructure situation is, and then how do we make the best fiscal decisions going forward. So those are my updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions for Broomfield? All right. And you can reach out and have dialogue virtually or digitally or otherwise. So Boulder.
All right, good evening. Charlotte Husky, Budget Officer for the City of Boulder. I've got a brief presentation, just 3 slides that I can share.
I can see at least there we go. That looks great.
Okay, great. So just a couple of slides here. So a summary of the federal awards that we have with the City of Boulder and just about processes that we've been doing since really January of this year. We are internally monitoring federal funds across the organization, across all of the departments that support existing projects and programs. We've got an internal team that includes finance and the attorney's office, as well as some of the department staff and city manager's office that meet to discuss potential impact of changes that are coming forward. There's been heightened staff coordination since January and communication for updates and regular monitoring and updates of our grant dollars that we've expended so far to date and understanding our risk and exposure related to that. So we have a total of 96.8 million active federal awards, and approximately 54.3 of those dollars are remaining to be expended or reimbursed. That's across a multi-year basis for the active federal awards. The majority of those are supporting transportation, capital infrastructure projects within the City of Boulder, also affordable housing projects and programs and public safety activities. The primary agencies that provide federal funds to the City of Boulder on an annual basis is the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Federal Highway Administration, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and the U.S. Department of Justice. We have a few pending federal awards that we are still awaiting either execution or hearing whether we've received the federal award, and that includes Safe Streets for All, 23 million from the Federal Highway Administration, and then 1.2 million from FEMA for assistance for firefighters that's specific to equipment. And to date, similar to Broomfield, no direct city federal award has been canceled. We've been implicated with some of the external agencies that we partner with, but no direct city federal award has been canceled or implicated. In terms of the question related to potential tax ballot measures for this year for the November 2025 ballot, we are working on a citywide financial initiative that's called the Long-Term Financial Strategy and Fund Our Future effort. And the Long-Term Financial Strategy is a development of a comprehensive citywide strategy that was indicated as a top council priority to help guide fiscal decision-making and long-term financial health of the city. It focuses on revenue flexibility, stability, and diversity in support of our guiding principles that we have for that effort. And so as part of this work that we've been working on as a citywide initiative, we're looking at a multi-year ballot measure strategy for 2025 and 2026. So the potential tax ballot measures that we're bringing forward or potentially bringing forward for council consideration is looking at capital infrastructure replacement and renovation needs for 2025, looking at extending our existing community cultural resilience and safety tax, which is a 0.3% sales and use tax extension that could generate between 13 and 15 million annually. And we're also looking at the potential of a public realm or parks and public improvement property tax that would increase our mills for this particular funding source and expand the use of this tax that we have and increase on top of that by 1.352 mils for an approximate 7 million revenue generation to support capital infrastructure. And we just wrapped up a polling survey that was performed a couple of weeks ago. And we have a presentation that's planned for City Council next Thursday in relation to the polling survey. And all of this information will be helping to inform in the work that we're doing within the long-term financial strategy for 2026 ballot measures in particular. We're planning for community conversations related to the initiative. So that is a brief summary there. Happy to take any questions on that.
Thank you for that presentation, Charlotte. Any questions for Boulder? All right, thank you, everybody. And we'll keep going down through the alphabet. We'll come back to Boulder County at the end. So I believe Erie's next.
All right, thanks, Marta. I don't have any presentations or anything long at this point. We have a budget study session coming up at the end of July where we'll be talking about risks and grants and that type of thing. So I'll get updated at that point in time. Nothing specific to bring up with regard to impacts. However, Erie has a north-south challenge with transportation flow. So we are moving forward with a feasibility study and possibly connecting County Line Road to Airport Drive. Airport Drive is going to be signalized. And so we don't know if it's feasible because you got to get over Coal Creek. There's lots of challenges. But the good news is we'll do the study to see if that's possible. And then there's two other pathways that we'll be looking at for 2026 to also do feasibility from Highway 7 north into Erie. And then as far as property tax or sales tax, nothing this year. Likely 2026 we'll be looking to do something. And that's it for me.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions for Erie, comments? All right, thank you. I've got Lafayette and then Longmont and then Louisville next. And I'm not sure if there is someone from Lafayette. As I'm looking on the screen, we may not. So let's go to Longmont and then Louisville. And if Lafayette joins us, that's great.
And if Gustav wants to put it up, he can. I can also share my screen if that's better.
Oh,
He was ready.
Yeah, if you can share your screen, that's perfectly fine.
Okay, let me go ahead. Let's see here.
And I'll give Jonathan, I saw you joined, if you'd like to do an introduction.
All right, All right, so this is just City of Longmont. We have we don't have any haven't heard of any issues specifically. We are of course paying attention. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're fine. Dale, there you go.
Sorry about
that. So anyhow, we did have a executive session about a week ago about executive orders and federal directives and federal grants and how we were going to approach that. And so, without giving too much detail there, we're trying to play by the new rules, and If the issue is don't put pronouns on emails, if you expect a response back, and that's kind of the information we got there, then we won't. We can live with that for now. And as long as we're rewording some of the way we say things to avoid any heavy scrutiny and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where we are in regards to any sort of anything else in regards to the regional aspects. We're just listening to see what you guys are, how you guys are approaching some of these issues. I know that I was in Washington with the National League of Cities in March, as others were, and I met with the White House Intergovernmental Affairs folks, and it was definitely an eye-opening experience. The young guy, Michael Silva or something like that, I'd have to look up his name again, came about 45 minutes late, had been on the job for about a month, didn't have any cards, and was maybe that of 26 years old, and taking care of the Western region, including the California, the fourth largest economy in the world, and was not very prepared. So I don't know what to think of that, if it got any better from that point on. As far as our issue around sales tax or anything else around ballot measures, we don't have anything that we're looking at specifically right now. There are, of course, people trying to encourage us to put things on the ballot, but as far as sales tax or property tax measures, we're not doing anything specific to that. So thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, council member. Any questions or comments for Longmont?
And Andrew, it's great to have you back, fellow Boulder Valley School District.
Yeah, that's been a while. Yeah, thanks, Sean.
Great, thanks, Longmont. So we'll go to Louisville. Councilmember Fahey, I don't know if you're presenting or if you've got staff as well.
I have a little bit.
Great, thank you.
On sharing out on the risks and strategies as it relates to federal changes with grants or programming. The risks include changing prices, lead times, and availability of a spectrum of goods and services needed for local government. Technology has increased in cost or seen delays, as have building materials. Strategies include purchasing to the extent possible in advance of need and having materials on hand, as well as potentially revising purchasing policies and contracts to mitigate the risks and allow greater flexibility in purchasing for staff to act quickly when needed. As it relates to federal grants, the city has moderate financial exposure. The current estimate is approximately $10 million, with the following projects and programs: the Colorado Highway 42 enhancements, generators at critical facilities, and outstanding FEMA Marshall Fire reimbursements. It also impacts residents, so we are experiencing lower sales and use tax income. On any impacts that you would like to bring to regional attention, these impacts will be universal to local governments, and we should continue to share strategies and tactics with each other, as well as strive not to create undue competition between us. In addition, recent changes to marijuana allocations at the state level, specifically House Bill 25268, would reduce city marijuana revenues by approximately 2/3, or roughly $100,000 annually. In regard to your town or city working on an SU or property tax for 2025 ballot measure, Not at this time. If you want the updates on our coming up activities, we are doing the summer concert series, begins tomorrow evening, every Thursday night. Our street fair is on Friday evenings. And of course, we have the most wonderful farmers market in the community on Saturday mornings.
Thank you so much. I heard a lot of great invites. And this group has threatened for the last several years about getting a bus and going around Boulder County to multiple activities. So that could still happen if people felt like that energy might be helpful in this time. So
That would be fun.
yeah, I think it could be great. So Netherland, I saw. Oh, great. There you are, Jonathan.
Hello, everyone. Sorry I was running a little bit late. I'm Jonathan Kane, the town manager in Netherlands. Um, I don't think I have anything to share in terms of risk for federal funding that hasn't been said yet. We only really have 3 grants right now. We're working on an egress road from one of our neighborhoods for fire safety. And then we have 2 projects we're working on with CDOT for the highway safety crosswalk project, and then just a general transportation improvement project. One thing I did want to note is we are very concerned about the potential sale of federal lands. We're pretty much surrounded by federal lands, and there's a lot of impacts for us in that space. And so I know that's not exactly the topic, but it's something that's really come into sharp focus for us over the last few days, and something that's pretty important in our community. We are not planning any sales tax work in this next cycle. It could still happen potentially, but I think we're probably at this time we're just kind of holding steady where we are.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments for Netherlands? I do want to just mention, Jonathan, when I hear the work the Mountain Pact is doing, that could be a regional conversation if there are folks in this group that aren't aware of that work. So just a suggestion if people want to talk about, anything that we would want to discuss on regional. A suggestion. So let's see here. Thank you so much for your presentation. Anybody, let's see, who else, who am I missing? I'm so sorry. Lions, I didn't get you in my list of L's over here. I'm quickly trying to.
That's okay. There's a lot of L's to manage around.
Thank you.
So we're like everybody else, we're kind of watching and waiting. We are not changing anything about how we operate or what our policies are. Um, and that may change. I don't think it will. The one project that is at risk is a brick grant for stormwater design, which we were awarded. We've been told that that will still be funded, but some of the trustees have some concerns about that. And obviously, we don't want to expend the funds if we're not going to get reimbursed. So that's a little bit concerning, but the advice from our attorneys is, just wait, let everything work itself out through the courts and then see where we are. Which doesn't really lessen the anxiety that we have. So we don't have any tax measures on the ballot this time around. One thing that I am a little bit curious about when it comes to the comment about being able to procure goods, I wonder if there is a way to partner to purchase common things, common ingredients in the projects that we have. That might be something interesting to consider on a regional level. We may have more purchasing power and it may be easier. I'm not sure practically how that might work, but maybe it's something to think about. And then Jonathan, I hear you about the federal lands. I think that's really in sharp focus for everybody these days. The town of Lyons, about a month and a half ago, passed a resolution supporting public lands and national parks. And Mountain Pact has that. I sent it on to them. So I'm happy to send it on to you. I think it would be a great thing for all of us to do.
We
the
passed
region.
that resolution on our last board meeting as well,
Oh,
but
you
thank you
did.
very much. Yeah.
Oh, sure. Sure. Yeah, so happy to pass that on to anybody who wants it. Our summer concert started last week. There's one going on right now, so I'm very grateful for the extra half hour tonight so I can get on down there and listen to some great music. And then I saw, Marta, I saw the question about the ribbon cutting. It hasn't been scheduled yet, but when it is, we will be sure to let everybody know.
Love that. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any questions or comments for Lions? Thank you. And I'll just note we're talking about that, doing a resolution as well connected with Mountain Pack. So it's good to know that there's a couple of y'all who've already gotten ahead of that. All right. I've got NIWAT. I just want to ask Carla if there was any updates that you wanted to share.
Thank you for asking. I appreciate it very much. And I'm delighted to see on the transportation materials several projects that I think will be huge improvements for Niwot on 79th Street, on Niwot Road, and on Neva Road. I think those will make a huge difference. And a couple of those actually overlap with the Niwot Master Plan, which the Local Improvement District Advisory Committee approved at a recent meeting. So we're delighted that those are on the radar for the Boulder County as well. I think they'll make a huge, huge difference to roadway safety and just access around our community. So thank you for that. Upcoming events in Niwot, as several of the other organizations have or entities have, we have a summer music thing going on, the Rock and Rails, which attracts hundreds of people. It's just unbelievable. It started a week or so ago. It's on Thursday night. And we also have something unique, Dancing Under the Stars. The first event is on Friday, this coming Friday. It starts with salsa. There's a free dance lesson included in the evening. And it goes all summer on Fridays. And then, of course, we have a 4th of July parade on the list, and we're all very excited about that. There's a breakfast, there's kids bike decorating, all kinds of fire engines and tractors and all kinds of other fun stuff. So we hope that you all will put that on your calendars.
Thank you, Carla. Appreciate your updates. Any questions for NIWAT or the Rock and Rails? Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't see Superior jump on, but I just want to make sure I'm not missing Boulder County. We were going to go last, but I want to make sure we got everybody else before. All right, doesn't look like it. So and Summer Laws is going to help me from our policy team just in regards to responding to a couple of the questions. So I'm going to let Summer go. She's going to take, I think, the first two, and then I'll take the last one.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner, and thanks everyone. This is really helpful to have this discussion. As a policy advisor in the Commissioner's office, we've been supporting the board in their federal advocacy and state advocacy, but I also have some information just generally to some of the questions you've all been talking about. So a couple of things that Boulder County has been doing is, as others, tracking the aggregate list of all of our federal funding, what's been received and what has not yet been received in terms of what risks can be. We're also looking really deeply in some of our departments that are funded heavily by federal funds that we know are at risk, especially as it relates to HR 1, the federal budget reconciliation, which I know you're all very familiar with, and the cuts that could come in human services to Medicaid, SNAP, and how significant those would be to our community, but also just to the way we are able to operate. There's also, you've probably heard, there's cuts that would impact the healthcare exchange, which also would drive up healthcare costs overall for middle income folks. And I was able to attend the state legislature's June revenue forecast for state funding, and there was a lot of discuss about the risks, both as others have commented. the risks as it relates to the budget reconciliation and changes in federal funding, but also to a possible recession. So we've been, as I think others have heard, there's been further conversation. I think the Office of State Planning and Budget noted that they think there's about a 50% risk now of recession. And so the state's looking at these two large risks to revenues for the state of Colorado. And as Boulder County is a statutory subdivision of the state, so much of our funding comes either from the state of Colorado or through the state of Colorado from the federal government. So that's why we're pretty active at the state legislature due to those 2 points. The initial, I think, potential risks to like things like SNAP and Medicaid, we were looking at for Medicaid, potentially from the House version, about a $350 million hit to Colorado, and for SNAP, approximately a $300 million hit to um, the budget. And there's also, as I think people are familiar, Colorado's tax code aligns with the federal tax code. So whatever is adopted at the federal level becomes the income tax code. Basically, I'm just saying those in simple terms, right, at the state level. So we would see also a significant hit in revenue as it relates to the adoption of some of the tax cuts that are proposed at the federal level. So several risks potentially there. And then I think for Boulder County, approximately 15% of our revenues come in from the state and federal government. There are obviously other sources of funding. And that I guess the actions that we're taking is really coordination with other counties in terms of our advocacy at the state and federal level, communicating to the Colorado congressional delegation, and then just staying in communication too to partners at the state. And I think you probably saw that Governor Polis released a tracker yesterday on all the federal funding that's at risk at the state level. And I'm happy to pop that in the chat. It's not comprehensive. I think they're still working on updating that, but they're using some of that for the state's advocacy as it relates to some of the potential cuts coming through to Colorado. And then with that, I think I'll pass it over to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Summer. Appreciate that. The only other on the federal and state funding piece I wanted to just share for awareness, I think it's helpful for folks to know, is Summer was sharing the way that we engage with our different, both our delegation at state level and then also our congressional partners, that we had a meeting with our state delegation earlier this week, the Board of County Commissioners, and just able to two things. We meet with them typically once a year closer to the beginning of the session. And so we're really trying to have some of these proactive conversations because we know how challenging it will be. And that was one of the members who was the rep on JBC shared that if you think the way that she described it is if you think that this is tough right now, just wait, that it is going to get worse. And that was the share. I like transparency, and those are tough words to have to say. But the other piece that I wanted to just share from a regional standpoint, what that means from Boulder County, is also the issue around housing and the elimination of HUD programming. And so I just want to make sure that's on folks' radar when we talk about the voucher programs, because we have such a great amount of vouchers and different types of vouchers that we get. So just things to be aware of, and understand that our housing department is working very hard to plan accordingly. So, and then the last one on our from our list was in regards to ballot measures for 2025. And at this point, the county is not looking at county ballot measures for 2025. We have a couple meetings happening in July that may change, but at this moment right now, we're not talking about anything specifically. So just wanted to give that update on that question as well. And I think and thank you, Summer. I saw that you put in that chat into the chat, that document, the different documents that are shared, the transportation slides, those pieces will get shared in the follow-up along with the video recording of the meetings. If anybody misses it, or you have somebody else on your team, your councils or trustees, et cetera, that might be interested in just listening, that'd be a great way to catch them up on what the consortium's doing. Any questions for us at Boulder County on the presentation material that we all prepared? Great.
I just had a comment there. that I put in the chat, along with Representative Gabe Evans' email, direct email, I think it's very beneficial for us, especially folks that are closer to that district, to say, hey, we've got people that work in our communities that live in your district. We got students that go to school in our communities that live in your district. And you really need to pay attention to how important it is to represent that, since you are in a swing district. It was designed that way. It was designed to have thin margins and to go either way any given 2-year period. And so because of that, I think it's important that we reach out and say, hey, we've got to protect those social services. And it's important that we as elected leaders give that impression, say we all represent these folks, whether they are living in our community and just working here in Longmont, Boulder, or whatnot. And I think that's important to convey to that particular individual, because that's one of the linchpin individuals in Congress that we should be focusing on. And if more of us reached out to them, to that individual, I think would be very beneficial.
Thanks for sharing the contact information for Congressman Evans there in the chat as well. And I do want to just share that the Board of County Commissioners, we just sent out, maybe it was on Friday, and really an ask to Boulder County residents. Like, this is an action item, and I think a lot of folks are looking for what can I do. So similar to what you're saying, Councilmember, agreed, and that might be something from just a regional, if people want to look at the Boulder County and cut and paste in any way, feel free to do that. Just as an opportunity for people to focus on one item can be helpful. I want to make sure we are almost done here, which is great. You all can have just a few more minutes of your evening. Is there anybody else that wanted to share out a community event that hasn't done so already in the chat or in our conversation? The only thing I will plug is the Boulder County Fair Parade is August 2nd. So that's a regional one, but our Boulder County staff and teams will be in there for really focusing on our 50th anniversary of Parks and Open Space. So, all right. I don't see anybody coming off of mute. I don't see any hands in the air. I don't see any emojis. So I think we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting for this evening. I just, again, want to appreciate all of the staff who's still on and really appreciate the effort. I want to acknowledge right now for elected officials, this is a very complicated time. Wherever you are politically, the reality of federal funding being cut that affects the programs and creates the fears and concerns of how to do a budget for our constituents is also factual. And so I know that it's just creating different stress for different folks in different ways. And so I really appreciate the interest in collaborating and continue to use the Consortium of Cities as one tool and one mechanism for us to stay connected and be working together. That makes me proud to be an elected official in Boulder County. And we know that in this country, not all elected officials are feeling that. They're not receiving the same type of collaborative spirit and or energy. So thank you to each of you. I hope you all have a safe evening and take care.
Great. Thanks, Marta.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marta.
Thank you. Take care.